This is the movie Frankenstein. A talented scientist creates a living being out of human remains. When the creator, horrified by the result, rejects his offspring, the monster begins to hunt him down. The film's action, based on history's greatest misconception regarding the monster's name, begins in 1857 in the far north. A research expedition is stuck in the ice here. Despite the crew's exhaustion, Captain Anderson is firmly determined to reach the North Pole, no matter how many subordinates have to die in the process. As soon as darkness falls, the sailors notice a fire nearby. Heading out for reconnaissance, they find a dog sled, blood-stained snow, and a wounded man, while the roar of some beast echoes nearby. When a mysterious silhouette approaches, they open fire, but bullets do not stop the creature. Surviving a second volley, it engages in hand-to-hand combat, tossing the sailors aside like children's toys. The monster demands they hand over the wounded man. The first mate pulls out a powerful new rifle, using it to knock the creature overboard. But even that doesn't kill it. When the sailors retract the gangway, the monster single-handedly capsizes the ship, if only that energy could be channeled for peaceful purposes. Not losing his cool, the captain shoots the ice beneath the monster's feet. When it cracks, the beast plunges into the cold waters of the Arctic Ocean. But the man saved from pursuit is certain. The creature will return and kill everyone if necessary, for it cannot die. It's a sort of cosmic bug. The wounded man asks to be given to the monster to save the rest of the crew. The man reveals that his name is Victor Frankenstein, and that he created this unkillable being. The story shifts to the past when a young Victor lived with his parents. His father was a baron, a surgeon, and a domineering man, while his mother was a wealthy heiress of a once noble lineage who submitted to her husband entirely. The young man diligently studied the science of medicine under the patriarch's watchful supervision. However, the father's wealth of medical experience proved useless when his wife, Victor's mother, went into labor with their second child. There were complications during the birth and the woman passed away. Only the infant was saved. Naturally, her death was a terrible shock for the boy. To make matters worse, the father shifted his attention to William, the younger son, who became his favorite. Blaming his father for failing to save his wife despite all his scholarship, young Victor vows to defeat death itself. While Victor tells his story to the captain, his creation, having shattered the centuries-old ice, escapes its watery prison and trudges toward the ship. Soon the father passes away into the next world, leaving his sons as orphans. Afterward, Victor heads to the Royal College to study medicine and fulfill his vow. He presents his project to the academic council, the resurrection of dead tissue using an electrical charge. For the demonstration, he uses a prototype RoboCop, parts of fresh corpses stitched together. Victor manages to make the specimen move under the influence of the current. The retrograde academics dismiss the work as a hoax, worthy of a traveling carnival rather than a scientific institution, and he is expelled. Victor meets Heinrich Harlander. Heinrich's niece, Elizabeth, is set to marry William, Victor's brother. The man himself is interested in the medic's scientific work, particularly the reviving the dead gimmick. Visiting his new friend, Victor learns that Heinrich made his fortune trading arms. The host shows his guest a copy of the human lymphatic system, complementing the cardiovascular one. This could help in future research. Heinrich offers to sponsor Victor's research so that, in theory, they can defeat death and achieve eternal life. The conversation is interrupted by the visit of William and Elizabeth. Meeting his brother's fiancée, Victor notices she strongly resembles their late mother. Back in the north, Victor is forced to pause his story, coughing up blood. The captain is informed that a sailor saw the surviving monster in the fog. Anxiety levels rise among the crew. They want to leave Frankenstein behind, but the captain is sharply against it. Heinrich provides Victor with a separate building for his experiments. Inspecting it, Frankenstein plans what else will be needed. He then gathers working material from criminals sentenced to death. He inspects them before the scaffold to collect fresh corpses right on the spot. While engaging in this necro shopping, the scientist meets Elizabeth at the market. They head to a restaurant to discuss literature. The girl prefers biology textbooks. Later, the man leaves his brother to oversee the manufacturing of lab equipment while he goes off chasing butterflies with his fiancée. The medic makes no progress in his further research. Soon Heinrich tells Victor in no uncertain terms that his patience is running out. He needs results within a week. While the scientist is busy working, Elizabeth visits him to admire a dissected corpse and to declare that nothing can happen between them. for she is pledged to another and will be forever faithful. While mourning the breakup Archimedes style in a bathtub, Victor has an epiphany regarding mirror symmetry. He rearranges the current conducting needles, changing the polarity, and the corpse begins to move. Rejoicing in his success, the scientist goes with Heinrich to the battlefield to harvest a bloody crop of fresh bodies. Transporting them to the lab, Victor begins hacking the bodies into pieces, assembling his own creation from this macabre Lego set. The work proceeds at a breakneck pace, and the medic throws the unnecessary scraps straight into the ocean through a special chute in the basement. When everything is ready, Victor connects a galvanic element to the body stitched from various pieces, but nothing happens. The battery lacks sufficient power. When lightning flashes outside the window, the scientist decides to use its discharge to reanimate the composite corpse. Trying to tell Heinrich about this idea, the doctor learns that his patron is dying of syphilis. He doesn't have long left. Heinrich wants Victor to resurrect him using his knowledge, but Victor refuses. Clinical trials, unlike clinical idiots, are necessary. Waiting for bad weather, Frankenstein climbs to the very top of the tower to install a silver lightning rod to conduct natural electricity. When he descends to the attic to adjust the energy transmitters, Heinrich appears. He tries to convince Victor to revive him, but Victor is adamant. The sponsor's organs are already ravaged by disease. Blackmailing the scientist, Heinrich threatens to smash one of the silver tips, but in doing so, he falls into the technical shaft and crashes to his death. Despite the damage to the tip, Victor decides to use it. He activates the lightning rod, aiming the transmitter at the patchwork creature prepared for the experiment. The lightning energy powers Victor's aggregates, after which he checks the condition of the deceased. Alas, there is no improvement. Disappointed, the medic goes to sleep. The night was lived in vain. He just wasted a patron for nothing. Waking up, he sees his offspring beside the bed, the reanimated corpse. It mimics all his movements like an unreasonable child. Victor has to teach the creature the simplest things: how to walk, sit, and speak. The scientist leads it to the basement, where he chains it up so the test subject doesn't run away. When the creature grows hair, the doctor has to shave it. In the process, the living dead man grabs the razor and cuts his hand. However, the wound heals in minutes, demonstrating amazing regenerative abilities. Victor is annoyed by the fact that the creature says nothing but his name. The scientist's seclusion is disturbed by guests. His brother and fiancé are looking for their missing uncle. Lying that Heinrich has left, an excited Victor leads his brother to the lab. Elizabeth, hearing the creature's voice, goes down to the basement, finds the chained test subject, and makes contact with it. William tells his brother that the scientific community wants him back, but he has no time for accolades now. When Elizabeth comes up and asks who is in the basement, the scientist reveals that his experiment was a success and shows her the creature in person. However, the question of whether the resurrected being has a mind is still open. Will he watch TikToks, or does he possess intellect? While the men are busy with important questions, Elizabeth communicates with the specimen, teaching it to say her name. Victor dislikes her interest in the creature. Its resurrection has become both a triumph and a disappointment. The scientist is saddened that the resurrected being doesn't shine with intellect, unlike its vitality and physical strength. Disappointed by the conversation with the girl, he goes to the basement, where he tries to awaken reason in the creature through beatings, but instead drives it into a rage. Frightened, Victor leaves. In the morning, he admits to his brother that he made a mistake in resurrecting the creature. He says the monster killed Heinrich. This is a pretext to send William and his fiancée away for their safety. The medic pours flammable liquids around the lab to burn everything down. He is also prepared to burn the monster in the basement if it doesn't learn at least one new word. But when it says the name Elizabeth, Victor, in a fit of jealousy, decides to start the fire anyway. Dropping a match, Frankenstein walks out. The flame slowly spreads across the spilled fuel surrounding the frightened creature, calling out to its creator. Coming to his senses, he runs back, but the containers of liquid explode, throwing the scientist back and injuring his leg. The returning guests find him like this. They watch as the laboratory building collapses, burying the miracle of science. The creature bursts into the captain's bridge, interrupting Victor. Learning that his creator is telling tall tales about him, the monster, having learned to speak, decides to tell Anderson his own story. During the fire, the creature used remarkable physical strength to break the shackles and escape through the tunnel where useless body parts were discarded. A family tradition, one might say. When the building collapses, he is in the coastal waters, sinking to the bottom. When the tide washes the creature ashore, he regains consciousness and wanders into the unknown of a brave new world, unfamiliar after his confinement. Finding human remains in the forest, the monster loots a cloak to clothe himself. Stumbling upon deer, he learns to eat berries. When shots ring out, hunters, mistaking the creature for game that needs to be bagged, wound him. The creature escapes. His wounds heal quickly, and he makes his way to an old farm, hiding inside. In the morning, the owners return, among them the hunters who mistook him for a bear yesterday. Hiding in the barn, the creature watches a girl caring for a blind grandfather who is teaching her to read. Thus, the monster gradually learns the language. Growing attached to this family, he secretly helps them, gathering brushwood and fixing the fence. In return, the farmers leave him offerings as if he were a forest spirit. However, when wolves attack the farm to drag off the sheep, the creature sees the head of the family shooting them. He realizes that some living beings are hated simply for what they are. After this, the peasants leave for the winter, leaving behind only the stubborn old man who refuses to leave his home. Seizing the moment, the creature enters the house to present himself before the blind old eyes. Although he hasn't really learned to speak yet, he manages to strike up a conversation with the old man. The elder, recognizing the guest as the forest spirit hiding in the barn, offers him a place to live. At the same time, he teaches him to read, since there was surprisingly a surplus of books in the farm hut. Having leveled up his communication skills on literature, the creature begins to ask questions about who he is. To resolve his existential crisis, he returns to the ruins of Frankenstein's laboratory, hoping to find answers there. Finding the scientist's notes, the monster realizes he is different from a human. This thought causes him suffering. Finding a letter with his creator Victor's address, he decides to pay him a visit to understand why he created him. Upon returning to the farm, another unpleasant piece of news awaits the creature. Wolves have mauled his only friend to death. As the saying goes, no matter how much you feed a wolf, it still wants to eat a blind old man. The predators attack the monster, but thanks to his strength and vitality, he manages to send the forest orderlies to the morgue, some with extreme prejudice. Returning to the dying old man, the creature says he learned the truth about himself. He is Frankenstein's man-made monster. At that moment, the old man's relatives appear. Assuming the monster killed him, they attack. The beast kills one in self-defense, then leaves the house. The hunters pursue him, shooting from a distance until the target passes out. Waking up at night with healed wounds, the creation decides to visit his creator. Victor, having lost a leg in the fire, is preparing for his brother's wedding when he notices his creation in his chambers. The monster wants the scientist to create a bride for him, so he has someone to spend immortal eternity with. Victor refuses. That idea is for the sequel. Receiving no love, the beast gives in to hatred, throwing his creator around. Elizabeth comes to the noise and manages to calm the monster, who recognizes her. But Victor, firing his pistol, accidentally hits her, and when the groom appears with guests, he accuses the creature of the attack. In the ensuing brawl, William hits his head. Tossing the attackers aside, the monster walks out through the column of guests carrying the wounded Elizabeth, while her groom dies in his brother's arms, calling him a monster for everything he has done. The creature carries Elizabeth to a cave, comforting her as she fades away. Victor follows their bloody trail with a shotgun, but the creation easily disarms and wounds him, leaving him to bleed. Promising to turn the creator's life into hell, the creature leaves. The scientist chases after him with a gun, thus begins the pursuit that led them to the polar ice. At sunset, the monster attacks Victor's camp, burning a tent and cutting the scientist amidst the eternal snow so he would bleed. Then he offers him the chance to light some dynamite in the hope that it will kill him. But if not, the creation will return for the creator. Again, as practice showed, the explosives didn't work. The story returns to the cabin. The dying Victor, having heard the creature's story, asks for his forgiveness, and the creature forgives his creator before he dies. Then the captain leads the monster outside, ordering his men to let him pass. Leaving the ship, the creation uses inhuman strength to push it out of the ice trap into the sea. Deciding they have had enough adventures, the captain orders a course for home. Frankenstein's monster walks away through the great white silence into a new dawn, finding peace of soul. That is where the film ends.